So we're filming some stuff today, and I'm also going to be talking a little bit about the best camera on the market right now, which is this, the iPhone. But before that, I also want to say there's no more complaining to be had on this channel about any camera gear, because I finally got this, the RSC2, and what I'm filming on right now, which is the Sony G Master 16-35. If anybody has been sticking around and paying attention, they know that this has been a long time coming. I've been complaining about this for a while. I needed an upgrade from my kit lens. Finally, it's here. So if it looks any better, let me know. I hope it does. But anyway, me and Nick are gonna start doing some filming. We'll see how that goes. So recently, I finally made the upgrade to one of the newer iPhones. This is the iPhone 12 Pro. Coming from the iPhone 8, I was really blown away with some of the photos I was able to take. And I recently took a trip down to Disney World in Florida. All I had was my iPhone. I didn't bring my regular camera with me. I took some pretty nice photos, not gonna lie. And that got me thinking about the popular cliche, best camera is the one in your pocket. And I'm starting to believe it just a little bit more now. So why is the iPhone actually the best camera on the market? For starters, the auto settings are incredible, both for photo and video. So in video, they now have HDR video with the new Dolby Vision technology or whatever. And I've noticed that that dynamic range is absolutely crazy. Also in video, they've added the improved stabilization. So I have a little example on screen right now. I was just shooting a little tour of my girlfriend's family boat, and I was just walking, not even trying to keep the camera steady. After the fact, I looked at the clip. I'm like, dang, it looks like I shot this on a gimbal. And it's just me just walking through normally. It kind of ends up rivaling the GoPro hyper smooth stabilization. So I thought that was pretty crazy. And you also have obviously HDR in photo. And by the way, HDR stands for high dynamic range. So basically the iPhone is using technology to identify the sky and brighter parts of the image and the darker parts of the image, and basically even it out a little bit more. You can't really do that on regular cameras like my A6400. So right now you probably still can't see the detail in the sky, and there's probably some crushed features in my shadows right now. The iPhone basically eliminates all that. Perfect example of this is I was shooting for a client. I shot two similar shots, one on my camera, one on my iPhone. I'll throw both of those up on screen right now and I'll label them. Basically, the iPhone was able to capture that dynamic range perfectly in camera. But whereas with my camera, I had to shoot raw and trying to revive that in editing. So I just think the smart features are unbeatable for both people who are beginning in photography and videography and people who are experienced like myself. And another great thing about the smart and auto features that the iPhone has is that you don't really need to worry about things like exposure when you're setting up your shot. You can worry more about your composition and what you're actually shooting, which in my opinion is so much more valuable. So another thing I found with iPhones is that it kind of teaches you how to manipulate your photos to get a certain look. I think that's great for photographers because I think nowadays editing is like half of the process. I feel like every photographer is like honing in their own style. They have their way with colors and whatever else they do to their photos that it puts their signature on there more or less. And I think by taking photos with just your phone, you're more inclined to start editing them to look a certain way, I guess. At least for me, because I wanted to edit them so that it looked like it came out of an actual camera. So I would do that by just using the Lightroom app on my iPhone, but you can also do it with the native editing that Apple offers in their Photos app. I definitely would recommend starting to get into something like Lightroom, because then you can play with colors a little bit more. And with the new Apple Pro RAW features, you can start to get even more versatile with the types of edits you put on there. Another great thing about using iPhones to take photos is that you can use it kind of as a gateway to get into manual settings. For example, you can use things like the Moment camera app and other third-party camera apps to manipulate the manual settings on your iPhone, like shutter speed, ISO, all that sort of stuff. really is a good transition point between being a beginner and being an intermediate photographer who's pretty much ready to start using an actual camera and maybe ready to start doing some professional stuff. Another obvious good feature about using an iPhone for photos and videos is that it's convenient and it's inconspicuous. I already kind of talked about it earlier, how all the auto settings are really easy to use, and your iPhone is always in your pocket with you. You can take it anywhere you want, and if you're shooting stuff like on a family vacation where you might be at places like Disney World, like I was, or you're at an amusement park or whatever, you're not going to want to bring a big camera setup there because that's going to look kind of suspicious. But if you just have your iPhone shooting stuff, that's what everybody else is doing anyway. It's pretty inconspicuous in that matter. By the way, stay tuned for like full review on this lens. That's one video, and I'm going to be reviewing my RSC2 back there as well for a video, so stay tuned for those. So far with this 16-35 though, I mean, I've only seen it on the back of my LCD screen. I think it looks pretty dang good. I'm liking it so far. I mean, the only issue I'm having is it's way heavier than my kit lens, but that should be fine. Like, it's a professional lens. That's the sacrifice you make. We did a little location change and we're gonna be taking some drone shots. So if I get anything good, I'll put it on the screen right now. This beautiful little sunset here, which brings me to my next point about iPhones. And some of you might be a little alarmed by me saying this, but let me explain. Your iPhone is probably the least expensive camera option that you can get, or at least the most bang for your buck. And some of you might think like, wait a minute, an iPhone is like upwards of $1,000 if I get the 12 Pro or the 12 Pro Max. But when you think about it, the iPhone itself is not just a camera. You might spend on a pro level camera body, you might spend upwards of $2,000 on just the camera body. Then you got to get lenses, gimbals, and microphones and all that sort of stuff. When you think about it, an iPhone 12 Pro is probably what, $1,000, something like that. I'll put it up on screen what the actual price is. But you're not just getting a camera with that. What you're getting is the camera capabilities, yes, but you're also getting 3 lenses. What I mean by that is you have the ultra wide, the telephoto, and the normal wide, as you can see on the iPhone here. But you're also getting the ability to call, text, and FaceTime people, go on the internet, go on social media, all that sort of stuff. So it's totally worth the money if you're just gonna get a phone anyway to have that be a camera as well. So what I've noticed recently is that social media is actually trending in the direction of having a demand for iPhone video, specifically video. And basically the biggest app that is taking that over is TikTok. When I scroll through TikTok, and I'm sure you've noticed this too, you don't usually see people with high-end camera setups. And if you do, that video usually doesn't have a lot of likes or views. What I've noticed is more and more people are just using their iPhones to capture what they're trying to capture. And I think Peter McKinnon does a great job of explaining this in one of his recent videos, that I guess people are kind of trending towards wanting to see the raw, authentic version of things rather than something that's polished and looks great. iPhones still look great, don't get me wrong, but definitely doesn't compare to something like a cinema camera or a pro level body. Even on Instagram too, it's kind of carrying over that stuff shot on iPhone is doing a little bit better and getting some better engagement. I hope that doesn't alarm too many people. It certainly alarmed me at first, but I'm realizing that there's still a place for high quality stuff taken with a real camera. Like, Instagram still has a market for businesses who are looking to promote themselves professionally, where they can hire somebody like myself to shoot a social media commercial for them. They also are looking for high quality photos. Those are tending to do well on Instagram as well. And YouTube, I think, is the biggest platform that is still using this high quality model, I guess. For someone who's looking to just get into the industry, start shooting on your iPhone and you might be surprised with the results that you're gonna get. Now, of course, the iPhone and smartphones in general aren't perfect. There are definitely some drawbacks to trying to take photos and videos with them. Number one, Sometimes the features are a little bit too smart. Sometimes I find myself wanting control over the aperture, the shutter speed, ISO. I want that full control over the color, the lighting, and all that sort of stuff. And even with some of the pro level camera apps, you just can't get that full control in the iPhone because there's still those smart features at work. There's also the classic drawback of the iPhone not having enough depth of field. I know that's something I thought about when I first started my career. I wanted something that could give me that nice blurry background. You can achieve the blurry background to an extent with iPhone portrait mode, but doesn't work 100% of the time. And definitely in video, it lacks in terms of depth of field. But there's a workaround if you want to get depth in your shots. Just get really close to some foreground and have your subject placed in the middle ground. And you can use foreground in the front to add a little bit more depth. And you probably will get some depth of field if you're close enough to it, even with the iPhone. So the sun's gone down now and the video is coming to an end. Those are basically my thoughts on shooting photos and videos on your iPhone. I basically have had these thoughts all cooped up in my head for a few weeks after I got back from that Florida trip to Disney, and I got the chance to use my new iPhone 12 Pro. Take some photos. Hopefully you guys did learn something valuable from this video. If you did, please leave a like and comment down below. Also, offer up any future video suggestions that you might have. Follow me on Instagram and make sure you subscribe to my channel, obviously. With that all said and done, see you guys in the next one. Peace out.